Long before maps were drawn, before books claimed the secrets of heaven and hell, Africa had already spoken of what lies beyond the final breath. Before the cross or crescent reached its shores, before colonizers brought their paradise and punishment, Africa's elders already knew. Death is not the end. It is a passage, a door, a return. And beyond that door lies a realm as real as the wind, as structured as a kingdom, and as sacred as birth itself. They called it by many names: Allah, Moor, Orun, Kalunga, Wine, Tukent, but the elders always knew what the world has forgotten. But the dead do not vanish. They travel, they remember, and in the underworld, they watch. The African underworld is not a place of fire and torment, nor is it simply a void of rest. It is a realm layered with meaning, with memory, with lore. It is where ancestors dwell, where unburied spirits wander, where the forgotten cry, and the righteous reign in silence. It is not ruled by devils, but by gods, guardians, judges, spirits who measure the weight of your deeds and the shape of your shadow. In the Igbo tradition, the land of the dead, Ala Muo, exists beside the land of the living, mirroring it, affecting it. Among the Yoruba, the soul travels to Orun Apadi, Orun Rere, or Orun Buburu, depending on the purity of its path. And in the ancient Nile Valley, the dead crossed through gates of fire, judgment halls, and celestial ferrymen. This is not mythology. This is the unseen architecture of African life, where rituals are bridges, masks are maps, and funerals are passports. To understand Africa's underworld is to understand Africa's soul. Why libations are poured, why names are never said in vain, why the dead are honored, feared, fed. Because in Africa, the ancestors are not gone. They are home, they are watching, and sometimes they return. This is the journey we begin now, not of fantasy, but of remembering. The drums are silent, the air is still, the veil has thinned, and if you listen closely, you will hear them. The voices, the footsteps, the whispers of the dead. Because beyond the grave, Africa still speaks. Beneath the earth of Igbo land, beneath the yam fields and family compounds, beneath the footsteps of mourning processions, there lies a second world, a mirror world. It is not made of ghosts and shadows. It is made of memory, and it is ruled by the spirit of the earth herself, Allah. To the Igbo people, she is not just a goddess. She is the land itself. She is mother, judge, protector, and grave. And her domain, the underworld, is called Ala Moor, the land of the spirits. Ala Moor is not a place you see. It is a place you feel. It is the chill at the back of your neck when you speak the name of the dead. It is the silence that follows a libation. It is the echo in your bones when you step on sacred ground. The Igbo believe that when you die, your spirit leaves your body, but not your people. If your life was good, if you honored the laws of Allah, if you buried your dead properly, you enter Ala Moor with peace. You become an ancestor, a member of the Indiche, the wise ones, the honored spirits. You do not sleep, you watch, you speak through dreams, you guard the lineage. But if your life was broken, if you were unjust, if you were cursed, if your body was left unburied or your death unnatural, your spirit wanders. You become an akalogeli, a restless soul. You may return as a shadow, as a sickness, as a face in the fire. The world of the living is not closed to you, but it is no longer yours. And until your name is cleansed, your story corrected, your body honored, you remain stuck, neither here nor there, feared, forgotten, lost. In the Igbo worldview, ritual is not optional. It is sacred technology. designed to carry the dead to the right place. The second burial, known as Ik-Ozu, is one of the most important rites in Igbo life. The first burial is for the body. The second is for the soul. It is a spiritual passport. Without it, the dead cannot enter ala Moor. They become trapped between dimensions, disturbing the living, haunting families, withholding blessings. That is why funerals are not just sorrow. They are negotiation, celebration, alignment. Ala Moor is not a realm of punishment. It is a cosmic archive. Everything done in the world above leaves its print below. Every broken oath, every fulfilled promise, every libation poured, it all echoes in the land of the spirits. The ancestors know. They remember. They hold us accountable, not out of cruelty, but because we are their continuation.
And Ayla? She is not passive. She sees it all. Every act of injustice against the community, every land stolen, every vow betrayed, she records it. She may not act immediately, but she will act. Sometimes through dreams, sometimes through illness, sometimes through a child born with ancestral scars. And when she acts, it is final. Yet Ayla is not only judge, she is womb. She is where all things return and where all life is reborn. The Igbo believe in reincarnation, Ilo Uwa, that souls return, not randomly, but through families. A grandfather may return as a grandchild, a mother as a niece. And this cycle is not superstition, it is part of the cosmic order. The underworld is not separate from life. It is the other side of the breath. This is why names matter, why shrines are cleaned, why oaths are sworn before ancestors, because the dead are not absent. They are waiting. And how we live determines how we return. Even today, when many churches try to erase the old ways, the memory of Ayla Amuo remains. Some fear it, some deny it. But in moments of crisis, in strange dreams, in unexplained misfortunes, in sudden deaths, the people still return to the elders, to the diviners, to the earth. They ask what was broken, what must be restored, and the answer often lies beneath the floor of the compound, beneath the grave that was never blessed, beneath the name that was never spoken again. That is where Ayla Amuo lives. That is where the ancestors still wait. And when the balance is restored, when the rites are done, when the name is healed and the libation is accepted, then peace returns. Rain falls again. Children laugh again. The spirits rest. Because in Igbo land, the underworld is not a prison. It is a home. And the dead are not dead. In Yoruba cosmology, death is not a rupture. It is a return. The body may fall, but the soul travels. And where it goes depends not just on how it died, but on how it lived. The Yoruba do not ask whether death exists. They ask, where did the soul go? Which path did it take? There are many realms beyond this one, but the most sacred are known as Orun, the spiritual worlds, not heaven and hell in the Western sense, but dimensions of energy, vibration, and consequence. When a person dies, the soul, the Emi, detaches from the flesh and begins its journey toward the place it has earned. For those who lived with integrity, who honored the Orisha, who kept their covenants and fulfilled their destiny, there is Orun Rere, the realm of peace, a calm, glowing place beyond suffering, where the ancestors reside in power. Here, the spirits rest, but they also watch. They bless the living. They whisper in dreams. They are called during divination, during Ifa, during ancestral rites. They are not gone. They are now part of the divine chorus. But not all souls reach this place. Those who lived with deceit, who harmed the innocent, who broke taboos and refused to repair them, they face Orunapadi. This is not fire. It is isolation, a realm of wandering where the soul cannot find rest. Here, there is no clear path. No ancestors welcome you. You are not punished with torment. You are punished with silence, forgotten, unnamed, removed from the rhythm of the living. There are even souls who do not cross at all, those who died violently, those who were denied burial, those whose names were cursed before they passed. These souls become restless spirits, sometimes returning as shadow, sickness, or misfortune. They are called Egun Alenikan, the unclaimed dead, and their presence disturbs the living not because they are evil, but because they are unresolved. That is why the Yoruba place immense importance on burial rites. A proper burial is not tradition, it is navigation. It is a map for the soul. Without the right rituals, without the prayers, without the orisha invoked, the soul may become lost between realms, and a lost soul does not disappear. It lingers. To guide the dead, families call upon the Babalawo, the Ifa priest who consults the sacred Odu. The Ifa reveals the truth of the soul's journey, what was left undone, what the soul needs to complete its crossing. Sometimes, offerings must be made. Sometimes, a name must be cleansed. Sometimes, an apology must be spoken aloud, so the dead may hear and move on.
The Orisha themselves are part of this process. Obatala, the Orisha of wisdom and purity, receives the souls of those who lived with honor. Yamoja, mother of all waters, weeps for those who passed without guidance. Oya, the fierce guardian of change and storms, stands at the gate between life and death. She does not take souls, she escorts them. She rides the wind, collecting those who are ready, delivering them to their destination. The journey to Oronreri is not automatic. It must be earned. But even for those in Oronapadi, all is not lost. The Yoruba believe in reincarnation, atunwa. Souls can return. They can try again. A soul born into this world may carry the marks of its former life, and a child may be named not by beauty or fashion, but by divine instruction, so that the ancestors know, this one has come back. That is why names like Babajide, father has returned, or Yetunde, mother has come again, carry such power. They are not names, they are announcements. The circle is unbroken. The dead have returned, walking again in flesh, seeking to complete what was left behind. Even today, in cities and modern homes, Yoruba families perform ancestral rites. They pour libation. They mark the anniversary of a loved one's death. They consult Ifa when strange illness arises, because often it is not medical, it is spiritual. It is a soul unsettled, a spirit unrecognized. The West teaches that the dead are gone. The Yoruba know that the dead are present. They wait, they listen, they walk among us, and when the right drum is struck, when the sacred chants are spoken, when Ifa reveals the truth, their path is cleared, their name is restored, and peace returns. This is not fantasy, it is order. This is not folklore, it is law. Because in Yoruba cosmology, death is not punishment, it is process, a journey, a return to the Orisha who shaped your soul, and the way you live determines how you cross. To the people of Kemet, what we now call ancient Egypt, death was not a fall into darkness, it was a journey into light. A journey through Duat, the realm of the dead, where the soul would be tested, weighed, transformed, and, if worthy, reborn. The Egyptians prepared for this not in fear, but with precision. Every tomb, every glyph, every ritual was a step on the road to eternity. Duat is not a hell. It is not a place of punishment. It is a trial of becoming, a sacred landscape filled with rivers of flame, dark tunnels, divine judges, serpents, riddles, and gates, each one demanding a name, a memory, a spell. The soul, called the Ba, entered Duat carrying its record, its words, its deeds, its truth. The journey began at the mouth of the West, the land of the setting sun. This was symbolic. The sun died each night only to be reborn.
so too the soul must pass through night to reach morning. The Duat had 12 gates, 12 hours of night, each guarded by fearsome beings, gods with lion heads, serpents with fiery breath, protectors of sacred law. They were not evil, they were tests. If you did not know the words, the names, the chants, you could not pass. Your soul would wander, unfinished. But the heart of the journey, both literally and spiritually, was the weighing of the heart. In the Hall of Two Truths, the soul stood before Osiris, the Lord of the Dead, and Ma'at, goddess of balance and truth. A golden scale was brought forward. On one side, the deceased's heart. On the other, the feather of Ma'at. If the heart was lighter than the feather, the soul was declared pure. It would ascend. It would become one with the gods. It would live forever in the fields of reeds, a lush paradise of endless harvest and divine joy. But if the heart was heavier, if it carried lies, injustice, cruelty, then it was cast down, not to burn forever, but to be erased. The soul would be devoured by Amit, the eater of hearts, part crocodile, part lion, part hippopotamus. No reincarnation, no return, just obliteration. To the Egyptians, this was the true death. Not physical death, but the death of memory, legacy, name. This is why the Egyptians prepared obsessively. They inscribed tombs with the Book of the Dead, not a book of doom, but a manual of spiritual survival. It taught the soul how to speak, how to answer, how to pass each gate, the names of guardians, the words of power, the declarations of innocence. I have not stolen. I have not murdered. I have not turned away the hungry. These were not lies recited in desperation. They were vows the living were meant to uphold, so that their soul would not tremble before the scales. And so the tomb was not a prison. It was a portal. Priests performed rites for the dead to speak again. Statues were built to hold the soul's image. Names were written so the deceased would never be forgotten, because to be remembered is to exist forever, and to be forgotten is to die again. Even pharaohs, rulers of empire, children of gods were not exempt. They too had to be weighed. They too had to face Duat. Power could build monuments, but only truth could open the gates. This belief shaped every corner of Kemet. Art was not decoration, it was sacred code. Rituals were not routine, they were navigation systems for eternity. And though much was lost, the echoes remain. In Nubia, in Ethiopia, in Sudan, in the spiritual systems of West Africa, in the rites of the diaspora. Because Duat, though painted with Egyptian stars, speaks a truth older than stone. The dead do not sleep, they travel, they remember, they return. And the only thing that protects us in that journey is truth. So ask yourself now, my Lord, if your heart were placed on the scales tonight, would it rise like air, or would it sink under the weight of what you never said, never healed, never made right? Because in the African underworld, justice is not delayed. It waits, and then it weighs. In the spiritual systems of the Bakongo, the Luba, the Fang, the Ndembu, and many other Bantu-speaking peoples, the world is not linear. It curves, it echoes, it reflects. Life is a cycle that folds into itself over and over again. And in this great spiral of existence, the land of the living and the land of the dead are separated by only a single sacred threshold, the Kalunga line. The Kalunga is not a myth. It is a spiritual axis, a boundary of opposites. It is the river, it is the ocean, it is the horizon where sky meets water. It is the thin place between breath and silence. It divides the Unzayayi, this world, from the Unzaya Mpemba, the white, glistening world of the dead. But in Bantu cosmology, separation is not isolation. The living and the dead face each other like mirrors. One world reflects the other. The ancestors walk beneath us, beside us, behind our dreams. When a person dies, they do not vanish. They cross the Kalunga line. Their body returns to the earth, but their spirit returns to Mpemba, a cool, white realm beneath the earth, beneath the sea, where the ancestors gather not in sorrow but in power. Mpemba is not a void. It is a city of light. It is where wisdom waits. It is where the Bisimbi, spirits of nature, dance beside rivers and inside trees. It is where the soul remembers what the flesh forgot. This is why death rituals in the Congo traditions are among the most elaborate and sacred. The body must be washed in white clay, the hair must be cleansed with river water, the soul must be spoken to, gifts must be buried with the body, not for vanity but for navigation, because the journey to Mpemba is long, and the soul, if dishonored, may become lost along the Kalunga, trapped between two mirrors reflecting confusion instead of peace. The dead do not speak aloud, but they respond, in sickness, in dreams, in the behavior of animals, in the way fire refuses to light. When something is out of balance, the elders say, the ancestors are unsettled. And when the proper offerings are made, palm wine, white chalk, words of truth, the signs begin to clear, the mirror stabilizes, the path realigns. But not all who die enter Mpemba peacefully. Some are taken too soon, too violently. Some die with a mouthful of secrets. These souls may return as Bakulu, wandering spirits who disturb the living, not to harm but to be acknowledged, to be seen, to be heard again. These are not demons. These are messages in human shape.
The Nganga, the spiritual healer, serves as the bridge. Trained in the sacred cosmogram, the Nganga knows the signs of disturbance. They consult the bones, they read the ash. They trace the 4 directions of the world, the 4 points of the soul's return. When someone is sick, when a village falls into misfortune, the Nganga may say, "This is not medicine, this is memory. Someone has not crossed properly." And so, a ritual is performed. The Kalunga is summoned through symbols, mirrors, water, fire. The ancestors are called with the names they carried in life. A goat may be offered, a gourd may be broken, and slowly the mirror begins to reflect clearly again. The soul is guided across. Peace returns. The Bantu traditions also speak of reincarnation, not as a fantasy, but as a sacred return. A child born with a mark on the shoulder, or who laughs like a grandmother long gone, may be recognized as a returning soul. The elders do not question it. They simply ask, who has come back through this child? Because the Kalunga line is a door, and the door does not close forever. Even today, across Angola, Congo, Gabon, Zambia, and in the Afro-diasporic traditions of Brazil, Cuba, and the Americas, the Kalunga still lives. In the sacred waters of Candomblé, in the death rites of Palo Mayombe, in the mirrored altars of Vodou and the songs of Santeria, the line has not faded. It has only shifted, because the African underworld is not a tomb. It is a reflection, and when we remember the dead, they remember us. Among the Dagara people, the world is made of 5 sacred elements: water, earth, fire, mineral, and nature. These are not just natural forces. They are spiritual beings, guardians of direction, destiny, and soul. And when a person dies, the journey that begins is not to a single underworld, but through the elemental gates of memory. To the Dagara, death is not the end. It is the moment when the soul steps out of its temporary container and begins to return to the community of ancestors, known as the Contemplé. But unlike many traditions, the Dagara do not believe the soul simply vanishes or waits in judgment. It must pass through the realms of the 5 elements, each one holding a lesson, a story, a key to transformation. And the path is never the same. Each soul's journey is shaped by its purpose in life, its mistakes, its gifts left behind. A soul that dies without completing its mission may return quickly, sometimes within weeks, sometimes within years. It may come back through the womb of a cousin, a sister, or even through the earth itself, into a tree, an animal, a wind that never stops blowing. These are not ideas. They are facts of spirit. The Dagara do not ask if the soul returns. They ask, how? This is why the naming ceremony for newborns is sacred. It is not just a celebration of birth. It is a reading of the soul's past life. Through divination and ritual, the elders ask the child, who are you? Why did you return? What do you carry from before? And if a child cries in a certain way, If they show signs of discomfort with modern tools or speak in symbols, they are marked as a returned elder, a being of power born again. The Dagara also speak of the grief ritual, not just to mourn the dead, but to clear the path for their journey. When people weep, they are not just expressing sorrow. They are helping the soul let go. The ritual calls on the elemental spirits to cleanse the residue of the life just lived. If grief is not expressed fully, the dead may become stuck. They linger. They appear in dreams. They create imbalance. But when the grief is released, when the drums sound, when the fire is lit and the songs sung, the soul is lifted. The ancestors receive it. The world steadies. The Dagara do not fear death. They fear unfinished living, a life unlived, a gift unused, a wound unhealed. These create spiritual weight. The dead carry this weight into the next life. And so, the living are taught to speak truth, honor their gifts, serve their community. So their death will be a return, not a rupture. In Dagara cosmology, the dead do not sleep. They walk with us. They appear in the form of guides, subtle signs, sudden dreams. If a bird flies over the head at the moment of prayer, it may be the spirit of a grandmother. If a child speaks of things they could never know, the elders listen. Because the line between the worlds is not hard. It is breath-thin. And when things fall apart, when crops die, when families fight, when a village feels uneasy, it is the diviners who are called. The ones who speak with the elements, the ones who sit with the bones, the stones, the wind. They do not look outward for solutions, they look beneath. They ask, which ancestor has not been honored? Which spirit is asking to be remembered? This is the genius of the Dagara understanding. Nothing truly leaves, energy only changes form. And when you honor that change, when you pour water into the earth and speak the name of your dead aloud, you restore the sacred circle. You invite the soul to rest, or return, this time with more wisdom. Even in the modern world, among city dwellers and those far from their ancestral homes, the Dagara rituals continue. In Ghana, in Ouagadougou, in Paris, in New York, the children of this lineage still cry out in dreams, still feel pulled by fires they never lit, still recognize old names in new faces. Because the dead are not bound to soil, they are bound to remembrance. So if you see a child dance in rhythm they've never been taught, if you hear a wind whisper a name long buried, if your spirit stirs for no reason in the middle of the night, know this: the dead walk with you, and if you honor them, they will not haunt you. They will guide you, because in the African underworld, there are no forgotten paths, only spirits waiting to be seen again. Across Africa, the dead are not merely remembered. They are fed, not with food alone, but with rhythm, with sacrifice, with tears poured into the earth. The ancestors are not passive. They are waiting, not to haunt, but to be honored. And when the living forget, the balance is broken. Crops wither, dreams grow dark, children fall ill. But when the rituals are done, when the offerings are made, when the masks rise and the drums begin to thunder, the underworld opens its hands once more. In many cultures, a mask is not decoration. It is not costume. It is a doorway. When a man or woman places the mask upon their face, they do not become a performer. They become a vessel. Spirit steps in. The body becomes borrowed. The voice is no longer human. What speaks through the mask is not a person. It is a memory, a god, an ancestor come to walk once more. In the Yoruba Egungun festival, the masked spirits of the dead rise to dance among the living. But they are not simply dancing. They are blessing. They are judging. They are scanning the crowd for disorder, for forgotten promises. And when the mask whirls, it carries the energy of 100 years. A grandfather's voice, a mother's laugh, a lineage too sacred to name. Among the Dogon of Mali, the Dama ceremony is held to guide the soul of the deceased into the world of the ancestors. Tall masks called kanaga, carved with cosmic shapes, are worn by men who leap and spin through dust and silence. Their movements are coded. Every step is a word, every gesture a story. The living do not dance alone. The ancestors dance with them, through them. In Sierra Leone, among the Menda, the Sanda society uses masks to initiate young girls into womanhood, but the masks also represent spirit mothers, female ancestral forces who instruct, correct, protect. Their presence in ritual is both guidance and reminder. You are never walking alone. But the underworld does not open with masks alone. It must be fed. Sacrifice is one of the oldest ways of honoring the unseen. To the Western mind, it may seem primitive. But in African cosmology, sacrifice is not slaughter. It is exchange. It is spiritual economy. You give something of value, not just blood, but food, kola nut, wine, music, in order to awaken the attention of the spirit world. To say, I have not forgotten you. Among the Igbo, kola nut is broken before the ancestors are invoked. It is not a snack. It is a key. Among the Bantu, white chalk and salt are poured at the base of trees and rivers to call forth ancestral presence. In Dagara grief rituals, fire is lit and voices wail into the sky, not for show, but for spiritual cleansing. That sound? It travels. The ancestors hear it, and they respond. Rituals vary, but the goal is always the same: alignment. The living must maintain their contract with the dead, and this contract is not written in ink. It is written in ritual. If you stop dancing, the dead forget how to speak. If you stop pouring, they stop drinking. If you stop remembering, they stop watching. And when the ancestors look away, the world begins to break. That is why African societies hold seasonal festivals for the dead. Not once a year, but in cycles: Igungun, Odo, Dama, Enfam, Imbalu, all of them designed to renew the bond. The rituals cleanse the village. The offerings realign the soul. The masks summon the presence. And when all is done correctly, you can feel it in the air. The world is watching again. Even in the diaspora, these rituals have survived. In Brazil's candomblé, the Orisha are fed with specific foods, danced into presence, honored with chants brought across the sea. In Haiti's Vodou, drums and possession rituals call forth the LWA, who embody both gods and ancestors. In Cuba's Santeria, offerings are placed at crossroads, on altars, in rivers. All of it is ritual memory, reworked and reborn, but still alive. Because the African underworld is not beneath us, it is around us. And rituals are how we keep it awake. So the next time you see a dance that doesn't stop, a mask that doesn't blink, a sacrifice offered with trembling hands, know this: the dead are near. They are listening. They are hungry not for flesh, but for remembrance. And when you feed them, they feed you. You have walked through rivers of memory, through masks and flames, through names once buried and now spoken again. You have stepped beyond the grave, and still you live. But something in you has changed, because you now carry the truth. The African underworld is not myth. It is a mirror. It reflects the life you live. It remembers what you forget. It answers when you call, and sometimes it calls first. The dead are not far. They do not sleep in tombs. They move beside us, in wind, in dream, in silence, in the eyes of children who laugh like elders, in the ripple of water that answers your tears, in the drumbeat that makes your chest ache for something you've never seen but always known. They are in the names you were taught to forget, in the stories the world tried to erase. They are here, still. From the Igbo lands of Alamuo, where spirits are measured by justice, to the Yoruba realms of Orun, where the soul rises or wanders, to the blazing gates of Egypt's Duat, where the heart is weighed in divine truth. From the white clay of Mpemba, across the Kalunga line of Central Africa, to the Dagara, soul journeys through earth, fire, water, and time. The African underworld is not one place. It is a network of presence, a sacred map. And you, my lord, are part of it. Every step you take is witnessed. Every word you speak is stored. Every action is a seed that blooms in this world or the next. The dead do not judge like men. They judge like memory. They ask, did you honor your name? Did you live what you came here to live? Did you pour for those before you so you would be poured for when your time comes? Because your time will come. You too will one day approach the veil, and when you do, the ancestors will gather. They will not ask how many followers you had, how much gold you held, how loudly you shouted your beliefs. They will ask, did you remember us? Did you feed the fire? Did you speak our names when no one else would? And if the answer is yes, they will guide you across. They will dress you in light. They will open the gate, and you will walk, not into darkness, but into welcome. Because the African underworld is not a place of fear. It is a place of reckoning, of return, of belonging. So now, we close this journey with a reminder. Pour the libation, speak the name, clean the shrine, tell the stories, dance when the drums call, listen when the wind changes, and above all, do not forget, the underworld is watching, and it is never, ever silent.